first off reached out to Andrew from Andrew was
No swagger, no design. Anxious thoughts stuck in your mind. You're just
Well, it's not a thing. Not a thing at all.
Your head kinda hurts.
That I know how
Looking for direction or at least a sign on how
to
to
sentence string together in a.
I'm just a
Pretty girl with an ugly smirk. You convince yourself that it's one of my quirks again. Too high, you can choose.
Hello guys, welcome back to my channel, welcome if you are new. Today we have got some exciting news. This is a brand new series. I don't know how long it's going to go on for because I don't know how many people I can get involved, but I have reached out to a couple of lovely indie booktubers. I'm going to call them indie booktubers, but they're not really indie booktubers. The booktubers, they're predominantly read indie fantasy. I wanted to ask them to recommend me some books. So this is episode 1. So I first reached out to Andrew from Andrew's Elizabeth Reads and Dom from Dominish Books. These are two of the people that I came across first in the last year or so that really do advocate for and promote like indie fantasy and sci-fi all the time. Predominantly fantasy, but yeah, so I asked them to do a little clip for me and you'll see why I put both of these people in the same book. So I'm just gonna pass you over to Andrew and Dom and they're gonna share with you their recommendations.
Hey Lisa, so you reached out to me asking me for 2 self-pub recommendations, so I kind of scrolled through your Goodreads, and I have a couple recommendations per your request, and I think you're gonna like these. I saw that you had read Readalongs I, who's one of my favorite self-pub authors. However, I saw you read Readalongs, but not The Iron Crown. Since you're already familiar with L.L. McRae, I wanted to recommend The Iron Crown. This is Dragon Spirits book 1. Oh my gosh, this book is amazing. I love everything about this book. It's just a great character dive. It's got a fascinating magic system with dragon nature spirits. Oh, it's so good, and I think that just kind of strikes a chord with you. And then up next, if I can get more people to read fantasy westerns, I'm going to recommend westerns, and I'm going to recommend No Land for Heroes by Al Black. This is book 1 in Legends and Legacies, I believe is what it's called. Yeah, Legends and Legacies. This one is so good. It's got an awesome female protagonist who has to deal with PTSD and things of that nature while struggling with a difficult past while trying to move forward into an amazing future. And I just absolutely love everything about this book. It's got those Wild West vibes to it from, the standard Western, and then it's just mixed beautifully with fantasy elements. And I think that you can't go wrong with either of these picks.
Hey Lisa, Dom here. I could recommend self-published fantasy all day and not get tired, but I've narrowed it down to 2 suggestions for you, and they are very different titles. So first of all, it's The Iron Crown by L.L. McRae because, well, I'll never not recommend this one. It's one of my favourites and it's got such a unique world with the dragon spirits which really give it a great bit of flavouring. I really enjoyed the characters and there's some really good twists on the character kind of personalities and what they're going through as well, which I really enjoyed. There's a great story which had me on the edge of my seat in various places and I really just had a great time reading it. There's a prequel novella, The Citrine Key, available if you want to get an early taste for the author's writing before diving into the book, and there's no better time to dive into it because the second book in the series, The Shadowgate, is just about to be released in the next couple of months. The second title is The Swordsman's Lament by G.M. White, and as I said, this is very different to The Iron Crown. The first contrast is that it's a low fantasy, it's not set in a big, expansive, unique world. It's more focused on the storytelling and the characters than creating a new world to put them in. This one also has a prequel novella available, The Swordsman's Intent, and the second book in the series, The Swordsman's Descent, is already available for you to move on to when you finish it, if you enjoy it. The Swordsman's Swordsman's Lament is a shorter story, so it's very much one that you can get through in one day if you're of a mind to, and it flows really well with really fast-paced action, a good story, and a nice mystery in there as well. This one focuses on a character who gets wrongly accused of murder, and you follow him as he tries to, first of all, stay one step ahead of those trying to capture him, and also secondly, it's trying to clear his own name in the process. So it's a really good time. You've got two very different stories in The Iron Crown and The Swordsman's Lament, but they are both highly recommended.
So as you can see, both of them have recommended one book in particular, and these two are not the only people that have recommended this book to me. Becca Fowler, one of my closest friends, also recommended this book to me. I started reading L.L. McRae with Marauder. I haven't finished that series yet. I need to continue with that series. But this is the first book that I think Becca read from L.L. McRae. And I've met Lauren and she is just an absolute bean. I swear to God, she's so lovely. I really would like to get to another Comic-Con to meet her again soon. But you can order her books signed from her website. So if you would like to support an indie author and you don't want to buy off Amazon, then head over to L.L. McRae's website where you can buy her books and she will also sign them for you, because this one was signed. So The Iron Crown is the first book that I'm going to be reading and I'm so excited. It's a chunker, but we all know that I like them thick. So the next two actually came onto my radar when I saw Andrew and Dom do videos about them. So No Land for Heroes by Cal Black. I'm so excited for this. This was one that I did a book tour for, that I did a post for earlier on this year, or was it back in the last year? But I haven't had a chance to read it yet. I do have it on my Kindle and I will be reading it in this vlog, and I'm so excited. I think I'm really going to enjoy it, and I want to get a physical copy. So the third book that I'll be reading for this vlog is The Swordsman's Lament, and this has been mentioned by Dom, and I've seen Cassie mention this. She's read this as well, and I'm really excited for this. Thankfully this is a shorter one, so hopefully I can get through these quite quickly and get this vlog out to you quite soon. But the biggest of them is this, but I do also have this on audio and I'm really excited to see what this is like on audio. Shadowgate, which is the second book in the series, is out at the end of April, and I hopefully will be getting an arc at the end of March. So this is another reason why this is the perfect time for me to read this book, because we are currently on the 12th of March. If I can get this finished by the end of March, I can move straight on to Shadowgate in April. So exciting times. There is also a novella, Citrine Key, which, like Dom said, is the prequel to this. I will be reading this after I've read The Iron Crown, because you can read it after or before. I want to choose to read it after because I really want to get this finished, and I'm just so excited. I've heard nothing but great things about all three of these books, but I don't know why, but I feel like maybe because I've met Lauren in person, and I think Lauren's an amazing person in general. I really also hope that I really like this book as well. I have read Marauder. I really love Marauder. I give it 5 stars. So I don't know. I'm just hoping that, like, I don't know. I'm really excited. But yeah, I'm gonna head off now to start reading this, and I'll update you with my thoughts and feelings once I've started reading some. Hi guys, I'm coming in and updating you on my current thoughts, feelings and ponderances on The Iron Crown. I've got to chapter 8, and well, I'm just starting on chapter 8. I think I'm listening to the audio as well as physical, and I keep switching between them, but I am loving this so far. It started off like really like in the thick of it. Like Fen, this lovely gentleman Fen, wakes up in the middle of a really tricky situation where he has to pull himself out of like this mud, and it's just, it starts like, it's not necessarily high stakes, but it starts where the action is and like the things are happening straight away, and then you find out very quickly that Fen can't remember why he's there. Like, he doesn't know anything, can't remember the area, he doesn't know much of anything other than the fact he's called Fen. And I'm very intrigued about where this is going to go. We immediately come into the magic. Like, we're introduced to different creatures in the world. We're immediately introduced to a dragon spirit, and it's the kind of thing I love. It's just magic and fantasy, and like, there's a complicated relationship between some of the characters and their mother, a character and a mother. I can't remember if I said this in this vlog or not. If I have, I'm sorry. I'm loving Kalinda and Giselle, and I really like Fen. Valo, I'm undecided. He seems to have an ulterior motive, of which I'm not sure, and it's keeping me a little bit on edge. I have learned not to get too comfortable with some characters. I'm trying not to like these characters too much, because I know that authors, especially recently, have a tendency to rip my heart out as soon as I start to really like a character. I'm scared, but I'm also so intrigued to continue this, and all I want to do is pick this up, but I do have some obligation reads to finish. So far I'm just enjoying finding out more about this world, and Alan McRae's writing is just so immersive. I would 100% recommend also getting the audiobook for this. As always, I tend to recommend audiobooks as well as physical, and I honestly, I have no idea where this is going. I have no idea why Fen has no memory, and I'm not going to give you any more than that. Like, I'm not going to spoil anything, because I feel like this needs to be experienced in itself. I will give you my thoughts on what's currently happening on the plot going forward, but the basic premise is, like, obviously he's lost his memory, and it's not really a spoiler. It starts right at the beginning where that happens, and I will mention characters' names, but I won't spoil anything to do with the plot. So far, I'm not a fan of the Iron Crown and the Queen, but I think I'm surprised at that, though. I will say, I assumed, like they say, never assume because it makes an ass out of you and me, but I assumed that the Iron Crown was going to be something of like empowerment and would be like for the people, a good thing, but it seems to be something that everybody hates, which is unusual, but also I like it. But I will be going to bed now, and I will be picking up this again shortly, and I will let you know my thoughts on it. I'm very, very intrigued to get to Swordsman's Lament and No Land for Heroes when I get round to it, but I just want to like devour this first. I don't want to start too many books at once, because this vlog these books are being read alongside my standard, very large, ever-growing TBR. So you'll just have to bear with if this takes a while to come out. But so far, just kiss. Thank you so much, Dom and Andrew, for this recommendation, because I'm loving it. Hello friends, I'm coming in with another update on the Iron Crown and this book. Andrew, Dom, thank you so much for this recommendation. I did read Marauder and I absolutely loved it, and now I can kind of understand why people love this so much as well. The writing style, you could tell it's developed since Marauder. See, I read the original version of Marauder, and you could tell that Lauren's writing has developed so much since then. I will say that I am listening to the audiobook as well, and there are bits in the audio that are different to this copy of the book that I've got. So that is a bit jarring at times because of the speed I listen to audiobooks as well, especially when I'm reading along. Sometimes the sentences on here are different, or a sentence is skipped, but on the whole, like, I've just got to this, I've got this much left, and things are going down. It's all been building up to this bit, and this, well, I'm on 483 out of like 500 and almost 560, so I don't have long to go, and I am just this is going to be a 5 stars. I know it is. I immediately do want to move on to Shadowgate after this, but I do have No Land for Heroes and The Swordsman's Lament, which are the other 2 recommendations from Andrew and Dom, and I need to read those first so I can get this vlog finally finished. I'm so annoyed with myself that I haven't read this earlier so that I could read Shadowgate, but if I'd have done that I wouldn't have been able to do this vlog, would I? So, swings and roundabouts, it is what it is. This is why I listen to Dom and Andrew when it comes to recommendations. Yeah, I'm so excited, like, to read this after reading the book that I have just read before this, that I need to read for a buddy read. It's making my heart happy. Like, these are the kinds of vibes that I need from a book. Like the description of the creatures in this. We've got griffins, we've got like the dragon spirits, but they're all different. We've got this species called the Mere, and they seeming like this darker side of the whole like spiritual creature thing. And there's betrayals in this, and to be fair, I'm normally quite a cynical person, but there was a betrayal in this that I didn't want to see coming. I kind of thought it might happen, but I didn't. I thought that I was hoping it wouldn't. I'm scared to finish this because I don't have much left, and things are literally just starting to go down. Like, so I know it's probably gonna leave me on a cliffhanger, and I'm not ready. I am so not ready, but I will update you once I finished. It's really hard for me to review something without giving it a spoiler, without giving spoilers. But I'm trying to do this spoiler free. All I can say is 5 freaking stars so far. 5 Iron Crowns. Hi. So this is now finished. Words are not a thing. They're not a thing at all that I know how to sentence string together in a. I don't know. I'm scared because of how the epilogue went, and if you've read this you know, and I can totally understand why people were screaming, crying, throwing up a little bit at the fact that this ended this way and that they had to wait so long for the sequel. However, I do not have to wait this long for the sequel. Shadowgate will at least be on my TBR next month if I can't fit it on for this month. I really enjoyed this. The characters are so well rounded and well developed, and there's still a little bit of mystery behind each of them as well, which makes you want to continue reading to learn more. And there's bits that made me sad. I didn't actually cry at this. There were parts where I felt really sad for the characters, but I didn't cry. The way that Ellen McRae writes is just so easy, and it's just really easy to read and understand. And there's a massive world in this book, and it's like full of dragons and different creatures. There's griffins in here, which I friggin' adore, and there's so many different things going on, and there's like a lore behind it all, and it's the fact that it's all weaved in within the story. There's no great exposition about a specific, you know, part of the lore. It's all worked in within the story and with the characters, which it's not easy to do. I mean, I've beta read books for people where there's a way of writing, and I don't know how to explain it, but part of it is the reader picking up on what you're putting down. You don't have to spell out word for word exactly what you mean by every single sentence. Like, so did this, because if you remember that this happened back in page 5, but you know, they won't do that exactly, but the fact that the author is relying on you as a reader to remember things that have previously happened and to make those connections, and they're not throwing it in your face, but they're giving you the little hints about what could potentially be happening, and to explain things to you without over explaining or without making the reader sound making you sound like the reader's dumb and like, needs everything spelled out, and without making the writing clunky. It's really difficult to do, and the fact that she's accomplished this, it's just amazing. I will give a full review on this at a later date, but this is a 5-star. I am just in awe of how authors can do this, and it just solidifies every time I read a book, an indie book like this, and it gives me these feelings. It just reminds me of like why I come back to indie authors again and again and again, and why I keep giving different indie authors a chance. Some have been misses, I'm not gonna lie, but when I have hits like this, it really like spurs me on to just promote indie even more, because it just goes to show that you don't have to be traditionally published to write a good book. Yes, it might be easier for the authors, I don't know how publishing works, but it is great. And in the grand scheme of things, this is a very underrated book. Within the indie community and within a smaller part of the indie community, this is a very well-known book and people love it. And outside of the indie community, the only person I've ever heard speak about this is Becca, but more people outside of the small indie community that I'm a part of need to know about this book. They need to read this book, and I will do anything in my power to promote this book as much as possible. And books like this that just give me these vibes and just prove to me again and again that this is why I love indie books, because you find these gems and it gives you all the feels, and it's just amazing. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. I totally forgot to tell you, I'm now moving on to No Land for Heroes. So that's my next book. That was picked by Andrew. So the Iron Crown, as a reminder, was picked by both Dom and Andrew. And No Land for Heroes is like a shoot-'em-up western fantasy that was picked by Andrew from Andrew with Other Reads. And if you don't know these guys, I'm sure that if you're watching my channel, you already know who they are. If you are interested in any way, shape or form in any kind of fantasy book, they do rep a lot of fantasy and some sci-fi, but they are very much like promoters of indie books, and they are great reviewers. So I highly recommend that you check them out. As I said at the beginning of this vlog, I'll leave them links down below. And on to No Land for Heroes. Hi guys, I'm coming in again to update you on book 2 of the vlog. I have only started this today, on the 12th of May, and I wanted to start this earlier, but other books got in the way. For those of you who don't know, this follows a woman called Mildred, and there is a guy called Gilbert it follows as well. We're currently following 2 separate people. There's been a train situation, heist, blowing up of, incident along those lines, and Mildred may or may not have been involved. And I've never read a fantasy, like a western fantasy before, like gunslinging situation, and I'm very intrigued about this one. This has a western feel, and I love like the feel of western films. I think I've not seen many western films, but out of the ones that I've seen, I've really enjoyed. And I do also love, is it Calamity Jane? I know that's a musical, but every time someone says western, I think Calamity Jane, because it's just so great. If you've not seen it, you should watch it whenever it comes on TV next. I think so. I don't know what to say about this without spoiling it. I don't know if there's gonna be any romance in this, just because there's a male and female protagonist and POV doesn't mean there's gonna be any kind of relationship between them. Millie does have a past, and it hints that she may have done some things that she regrets, and she is an elf, but she doesn't have any magic, and in fact other people's magic kind of goes a little bit squiffy when they're around her, and she's seen as like the broken witch, like the broken one, because of that. She does have 2 little girls as well, and one of them is like her and one of them isn't. I'm not going to tell you too much about that backstory, but yeah, she has 2 little girls, and I don't know how they're going to factor in to this whole situation either, but I'm very intrigued to where the story is going to go. She's had to do something that's not 100% legal, even though she is in a position of authority within the town that she's in. This is like a perfect example of somebody who is like a morally great, I think, doing bad things but for good reasons, but it doesn't mean that you're a bad person. I'm only on chapter 11, so I have a long way to go. I'm on page 98, and I've been listening to it a little bit slower, which I've been really enjoying. When I've not been physically reading, listening to it a little bit slower has been a lot better for me. I did the same thing with Ascendant, which I've just finished as well, and although it means it does take a little bit longer to get through them, I am enjoying the fact that I can do other things and put around and still listen to the story as well. I am going to speed it up when I do sit down and physically read along with it, but we have met a character in this so far called Sweet Pea, who I really like. Sweet Pea is just a little bean, and there is a steed that she rides called Max, who seemingly understands her. I'm guessing it's because she's an elf, maybe not. But even though the horse doesn't say anything, it just, I love the little connection that they have and the way that she talks about him. I'm intrigued. I've said this a million times now. I'm going to go read some more of this before I go to bed, and I will come and update you once I've read some more. Okay, so I did a thing, and I kind of finished this without giving any updates. It was 5 stars. It's so good. So good. I loved Millie, I loved Gilbert, I loved Annie, I loved Rye, I loved all the characters that we meet, and the kids were great, and I loved everything about it. It was fantasy, and it was with a Western style, and it gave me like, there was like a found family and like a little bit of, I'll say a little bit of relationship. There was a bit of a relationship in here. It was just so good, and I didn't want to put it down. Hence the reason why you didn't get any updates at all. So this was, I really need book 2. I have no idea what book 2 is going to be though, because I did read the synopsis, and I can see that it does still follow good old Millie Mildred, but I don't know if it's going to be like, do you know how cozy mysteries follow a character but every situation is different? So, you know, like there's consistent murder mysteries, but there's every murder is different, do you know what I mean? There were some stakes involved in this because obviously both main characters, Gilbert and Millie, have kids. Well, Gilbert just has the one, but Millie has 2. But like they were never used in a way, the kids were never used as like a tool to hurt them. It was more about their actions as people that got them into the situations that they got themselves in. And the reveals I didn't see coming. I'm not 100% sure that I agree with one of the things that happened in this between Millie and Gilbert, but it didn't detract from the story at all. It didn't take anything away from the plot and things like that, but I can understand why it was done given the circumstances surrounding the incident and the thing. This is very vague but it is so good. It's very different, as I said, to any other fantasy that I've read. The dragon aspect of this wasn't the forefront of it. It wasn't a bonding situation like it was in Aragon or in Ascending that I've recently read, the dragon in this isn't a good one. Also realised that the 2 books in this vlog, as well as the 3 books from this weekly vlog that I'm doing at the moment, include dragons in some way, shape or form. And it's great to see how dragons are portrayed differently in different types of books depending on what kind of story you're trying to tell. So this is very, very good, and I highly recommend that if you're looking for a different type of fantasy, and there are like fight scenes, but it's not like epic armies versus each other. When I do have more coherent thoughts, feelings and ponderances, there will be a review about this going up on Fantasy Review. I need to start writing some more of them because I have finished a couple of books now that I want to write reviews on. So keep a lookout for that, and then I will be posting videos after the reviews have gone live on the blog. I'm gonna head off now and read. Where is it? I'm hoping, can I finish like another book this weekend? Can I finish this? Can I start and finish this? This is like 213 pages. The only downside, potentially, could you say downside, is that this doesn't have an audiobook, and for part of this I did sit and read physically along with it, and for part of this I was pottering around doing housework and rearranging bookshelves and stuff whilst I was listening to it. So for this I'm going to have to sit down, get some ambience on, and just focus on this for a while. And physically reading is something that I do struggle with. I've got better at it since I've been told where I can find some good ambience things and sounds and stuff, but we'll see. So this is the last book of this vlog, and so far both Dom and Andrew recommended The Iron Crown, and that got 5 stars. Andrew recommended No Land for Heroes, that got 5 stars. Can we go 3 for 3 with the 5-star vibes? It's going to be interesting to see that if a 213 page book can impact me enough and to give it 5 stars. We will see. But I will be back. I will try and give you more regular updates on this one, because I'm an idiot and I didn't. I'm sorry. Hello friends, I have now finished Swordsman's Lament. I haven't given you many updates as I've read this, I've realised, because I was reading it at very awkward times. I read it when I was at Becca's, and because we were having like quiet time, I didn't feel it was right to vlog, even though I know Becca does vlog, but it tends to be upstairs away from parents sort of thing, and I felt a bit like I didn't want to intrude on the quiet time we were having. Also, we were having lovely chats, so just to like whip out the camera and be like, I'm reading this, so that was a bit, yeah. But I am going to give this 4 stars. All 3 books that I've been recommended have done really well. I did really enjoy this, and this is a me thing, a book thing, but I just would have liked a little bit more. I did know going into this that this was a small book, but there were certain situations that happened, and because of the size of the book you couldn't go into depth about it, and I would have loved to have known the intricacies of what was going through his head when these things were being planned, how he came to know the person that helped him. This might come about in like the prequel. The Swordsman's Descent is the sequel, and then the prequel novella that's set 15 years before this, which is the Swordsman's Intent, which is, I think it's a novella, but also like short stories, I think. But it might come into play then, but I just wanted a bit more discussion, really. But that is nothing against the author, obviously. I know that when you're self-published, not everyone can self-pub like a 700-page book, and especially when I think this might have been a debut, I don't know. You can't, some people just can't risk paying out all that money to print a massive chunker. But I love this. Like, Belasco as a main character, an older main character. What I do like about, I'm going to put this down now because you've seen it. What I do like about having more realistic kinds of characters is that there's consequences to actions. Even though it's in a fantastical world, there's consequences to actions. And even though they may win a battle, they don't come out unscathed. They don't come out without like long-term wounds, or, you know, it doesn't have like no effect on it. It's like, oh, brush yourself off and move on, everything's fine and dandy, and I came out perfectly unscathed. Peace. It's just that kind of thing where they conveniently get out of things, and it can become monotonous when you read a lot of fantasies like I do. And if you read one fantasy every so often and it's not your main genre, then it might not become as monotonous and as repetitive. But my main genre is fantasy, so through no fault of the authors, really, when things like that do happen, it can become a bit boring. But there are consequences to Belasco's actions. He didn't pull any punches, I'm going to say that, and in such a short space of time, I really became attached to Belasco, and I just wanted to know more about him, hence the reason why I wanted it to be a bit longer. I wanted to know his thought process, I wanted to know more about what he thought about what actually happened, because he's accused of murder, and he basically is trying to find out who the actual murderer is and why people wanted to frame him for it. And he's like the king's swordsman, he's the king's champion, he's supposed to be someone that's, but because he was a poor boy and he came up the ranks that way, people resent him for that. And there's the whole, that side of the politics and, you know, the hierarchical side of things, which I would have liked to dive into more, and more of the world building. This was very short, sort of character-driven book, which again, I do like a character-driven book, but, and I know that in a book this long you can't do a lot of world building, and that comes from, like, you know, a longer book. But I would like to know more about the world that he comes from, the world that he lives in, and he's got an academy. I would love to see him in his academy space and being a trainer and a teacher, and, you know, all these young people who want to become swordsmen. I don't know if there are any women in this academy, but swordsmen and women. I would like to see extra books about that. If that is something that he plans on writing, I have no idea. But I actually don't know what the swordsman's descent is about. But descent doesn't sound good. And I'm scared. But I will be picking up the prequel to this. This is the end of this vlog. So we've had 2 5-stars and a 4-star, which for my first vlog doing this kind of thing, I am really happy. Iron Crown got 5, No Land for Heroes got 5, and Swordsman's Lament got 4. We're off to a great start. Fantabulous start. So the next video for this, I don't know when that will be coming, probably next month, but this should get posted sometime in June. I will be reaching out to a couple of more booktubers and bookstagrammers who promote primarily indie books to get some more recommendations from them. So hopefully this can continue. I can keep doing vlogs like this. But if you do like me and you want to see more of me, please like, comment, subscribe, do all that good stuff. If you are here and you want to let me know you're here but you don't have anything to say, please have a black eye, very much appreciated. But I will see you all in the next video. Bye.
Every time I fall in love, it seems to be at the wrong